Yo, what is good, everybody? Today is December 9th, and we are going to get into today's trade recap. Today was a quick day, just one trade, and it was a beautiful win. This is what the chart looked like when I first got on. So immediately when I get on the chart, I just try to identify the two most probable setups that I could take. Y2, one for long, one for short is generally what I look for. So like, for example, what I mean by two is it's like I could take potentially two shorts like this, like one at this level and then one at this weekly level, but I'll just pick whichever one I think is higher probability. So for example, the two trade ideas that I marked out immediately after hopping on the chart was this short off the weekly level. Now why'd I choose this short? It's higher confluence for me as a value area fade because we're farther away from the current session's value area high. We're deeper into the extremely low volume, and then we've already had a previous reaction that was phenomenal off of it, right? Versus this overnight level, not really anything there, right? The whole reason it turned around was because of this previous week level. And if we look at how it's reacting now, it looks good, and the start of it is fine, but look how far away we'd be from the TP still, and now we'd be at entry. Versus if we enter up here, look how much more reasonable the TP looks, right? So that is just the reasoning for that. So I'll mark out the two most probable setups. I'll leave this one here too so we can see how it plays out, because this was the only other trade idea I was thinking about if I was going to take one for the day. So that would be pretty cool if it played out just to show kind of how the strategy works in real time. But anyways, I had that one marked out. And then the other one I had marked out was this value level. Now you might be thinking, why did I not choose the weekly level down here as well, since I did so on the top end? And the reason for that is this value level is a lot farther away. It might not actually be farther away as far as like points go. It's exactly the same, but it's a lot farther away from where price is, though, because when I first got on, price was around here. So that's 12 points away versus 6.5. So almost double the distance. So it's 2 times as far away. And from what I see today, the session doesn't have the highest volume. If we look at the ATR, we're sitting around like anywhere from like 1.5 to like 3 for the ATR. So that's not like a super crazy high volume session or anything like that. So that just seems really far to me. Also the current session's value area low when I first got on, as you can see, is aligned as well. We also have low volume. And then I also watched this bounce happen when I got on the chart. I watched it come down, get close to the level, and then reject up. So that was kind of solidifying the idea in my head that this was going to be a strong level. If we're rejecting before it, then it's probably going to be a strong level. So anyways, came back up, and it was just chop, 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 chop. Came close, straight back up and chopping again. And then it started dumping down to my level. Came right down, and I finally got entered in. Initially, when I got entered in, it was like a perfect bottom tick, which is like, doesn't really matter, but just like cool or whatever. But then it did come back down, and I was on like 3 ticks to drawdown, so nothing crazy at all, but 3 ticks to drawdown. And then immediately after that, shot pretty much straight up to TP in 2 candles. So again, I was managing the trade accordingly. Price moved 50% of the way to my TP, so I cut my risk in half. Like that. That's my risk cut in half. Price moved 75% of the way to my TP, so now complete risk is off the table, and I'm actually in 25% profit. So, oops. So if it came back down, getting stopped out. That was a horrible. Getting stopped out around there, 25% profit. And then it just smacked TP, so that was a really nice trade to both start off and end the day, at least the trading day, because I will not be trading anymore today. So yeah, that's pretty much all for today. It was a quick 1 trade day, just like how yesterday was. I wouldn't necessarily say these trading conditions are like super great and amazing or anything like that. But they're definitely not bad. Like, I can hop on the chart and I can see a few setups that I can go with, and it's just as simple as waiting for them to happen and executing and not being scared, not being fearful. Um, I think that's the biggest thing. I feel like a lot of people, even if they were using the same strategy as me, specifically like newer people, I'm not talking about the more experienced one, but newer people using the exact same strategy as me might have missed out on this trade because it looked scary, right? Like they see all these really full red candles just going straight down, and they're probably like, okay, well, I don't like the look of that, especially when um your risk management is so like you have such low risk on a trade as far as like points go. Like only a 2.5 point stop, that's not a lot. Like if we think about a 2.5 point stop, and keep in mind this is a low volume session too. Look how often you could be getting stopped out with a 2.5 point stop, right? So like you might need to make sure that your entries are perfect or as close as they can be. And obviously it won't work every single time. Sometimes you might get wicked out, or sometimes it could just be a full-on loss. You were just wrong, and that's perfectly fine too. But not being fearful is very important, or else I would have missed out on this trade, and I would be a little bit upset. And the same thing would have happened yesterday. I would have been fearful, and I would have missed out on a trade just because of the way the candles looked. Which for this strategy, by the way, the candles don't even matter at all. I could actually have nothing on the chart and just use my volume profile, and I would be perfectly fine. I could use a line chart and I'd be fine. I don't even know what half these are, but oh, guess I don't have enough bread for that. But my point is it doesn't really matter what you're using on the chart. Like candles do not matter for this strategy. So if you are one of the people that trades price action, just know that it is not at all the end all be all, and you do not need candles. And often half the time, well, all of the time, the actual like professional traders do not use candles. They use volume profile, they use order flow. There's so many other things. So another one of my goals with this channel is to show people that there's so much more to trading that people aren't telling you, right? There's so many different ways to trade. It's not just support and resistance and candlestick price action, right? There's so many different ways and like actual data backed ways. Like the way that I trade is based off of actual transactions that are happening in the market, right? So that is definitely one of my big goals. To kind of spread awareness for stuff like that, specifically to the younger generation, because I feel like a lot of the younger guys that I see don't even know stuff like this exists, right? They see all the influencers trading price action with candlesticks, whether it's like smart money concept or ICT. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't work because I see it working for people. But I do think it's more market intuition than it is expertise of the strategy, if that makes sense. I think it's them putting hours and hours and hours on the chart and kind of just having that market intuition, like, okay, this looks good, not because of the ICT or the SMC concepts, but just because they've been there, they've showed up day after day after day for years, and they just kind of have that benefit from just being there for that long. Versus this, I've been at it for, I think this is my 4th month or my 5th month. I started on, let's see when I started here. I started in the end of July, like around the 27th of July. So it has been, it's been over 4 months. So I'm going into my 5th month right now, working on the 5th month right now. But that is not a long time, especially not a long time for someone to be receiving payouts and everything like that. So just kind of shows you what's possible. I'm definitely not at my end goal or where I want to be at all yet, but that's totally fine. And I think I could have had a lot of the success that I have right now a lot earlier too if I had a better mindset and didn't have any problems revenge trading or over trading or over leveraging, etc., etc. So I've been working on that stuff, putting more structure in my life, systemizing trading a little bit more, and it's been doing wonders, and more aggressive risk management, etc. But if there's any takeaways from today from anyone watching, price action is not the end all be all. If it does not resonate with you, if it is not working well for you, there's nothing wrong with strategy hopping to something that you will feel more comfortable on, like volume profile. For me, I started off kind of how I think almost everyone does around my age, watching the TJR boot camp and everything like that. And I'm not saying that doesn't work for some people. And I definitely did not give it enough time to work its magic, maybe, but I watched every single video and I practiced it, and it just didn't make sense. I felt like I was doing everything right, and there would always be one tiny little thing where it was like, okay, I missed this. I was wrong, right? I blew my first ever evaluation trading the way that he taught in his boot camp. The next week, I started learning volume profile from a guy called Cami Capital. And his course was like $100. So I bought it and I started trading with his strategy. And within the same month of learning his strategy, volume profile strategy, I not only passed my second evaluation, but I also got a payout from that evaluation. So that just goes to show the people that trade ICT and smart money concepts and all that stuff, it tends to take them years to pass accounts, to get payouts. The same month I started learning the strategy, I passed an account and got a payout. I'm not saying that's going to happen to everyone. I'm not going to say there might not have been some luck involved, because there probably was, but I just want to say that's a stark difference. And it wasn't like that was the only one. The next month I got a payout too from a different firm. First it was My Funded Futures, then it was Top Step. At this point you would have got cooked on this one, by the way, which that just happens sometimes. But that's also why I stopped trading for the day. Like, I got my win, I'm good. But that just goes to show, like, the success you can see branching out and seeing what else there is to learn with trading. So that was kind of just the talk for today. I also wanted to give time to play it, let this play out to see if it was going to work. Did not work. And stuff like this, it just happens. Like, not every single trade idea is going to work, and that's totally fine. You just have to look for the ones that you think have the highest probability of working, and you execute them. If they work, cool. If they don't, cool. Like, it's just, at the end of the day, that's trading. You're working with probabilities. So you're not going to win every single trade. You're not going to lose every single trade. Even if you were flipping a coin, you would still win some and lose some, right? So essentially that's already giving you a 50% win rate if you're just flipping a coin. So if you have an edge, you should immediately have a better win rate than that, unless your risk reward is stupidly high. Anyways, enough yapping. Let's get into how much I made on the day off this one trade. So this one trade I made, if I go here, oops, I'm going to have to like blur that out a little bit, like this far, because it just has my government name, but $500 on Funded Next, $1,000 on both Tradify evals. So if I have one more good day of $1,000, I will meet the consistency requirements and be well over the profit target to pass these accounts. And Tradeovate, I got my Tradeovate funded, processed like at the end of last night. So that was the first trade that I took on the 150K funded. It does have intraday trailing drawdown until you reach the buffer of $4,500 in profit. So once the account balance goes to 154,500, then it will convert over to end of day drawdown, and that's when I can start taking daily payouts. But until then, it is intraday. So my distance to drawdown is still $4,500, even though I made $1,500 today. So with my risk management plan, I'm risking $750 to make $1,500, well, a little over $1,500. So essentially, if I have 2 more good days, which I'm not counting on, but it could happen. Hopefully it happens. It might not, whatever. But the fastest I would get to be able to actually hit those daily payouts would be 2 days. So we'll see what happens with that. And yeah, that's all for today. I hope you guys had a great trading day as well. and I will see you guys in the next trade recap. Peace.